What is up there, everybody? Citrus Aviation here for another video, and today we are covering the Asiana Korean Air modules just announced today, and I want to talk about it and discuss the big module. So if you haven't heard, Korean Air will be acquiring Asiana through a module. Asiana has been struggling for the last couple of years with some debt issues. I talked about that in an Aviation News This Week episode more than a year ago. Probably most of you haven't seen it, but I'll just discuss it quickly. Asiana is more than $1 billion in debt, and they've been looking for a creditor to essentially take on their finances, be able to fix their issues. Korean Air will be doing that with a large injection of $2.25 billion via rights offerings that will occur in early 2021, and $1.35 billion of that goes to buying a controlling interest in the company, and then $1.1 billion goes to pay Asiana's existing debt to the main creditor, which is Korean Development Bank. Korean Development Bank at the same time will also buy a $722 million interest in the new Korean Air Asiana brand, which will also give them a large stake in the company as well. So all this will end up meaning that the Asiana brand most likely will no longer exist after a few years, probably looking at around 2023-2025 timeframe. And the merger should be confirmed about a year from now, so around October 2021. All this is a pretty big deal, as this will make Korean Air the sole giant airline in the country of South Korea with no major competitors. You might be wondering what the fleet structure for the new airline will look like, and interestingly enough, both airlines have a very similar fleet. They both operate the Boeing 747-400, they both operate the Dash 400 variant and the cargo Dash 400 variant. Korean Air also has the Dash 800. Both airlines also have the Airbus A380, however, as the combined fleet will include 16 A380s, it is most likely that that number will get dwindled down in favor of more fuel-efficient aircraft. Aircraft that are on order include the A350-1000 and the 787-10 in the wide-body segment, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Also on the wide-body section, we have the A350 operated by Asiana, the 787-9 operated by Korean Air, the 777-200 operated by Asiana, and the 777-300ER operated by Korean Air. On the narrow-body side, you have 737s operated by Korean Air and Airbus aircraft operated by Asiana. One of those is going to have to give, because really, most likely one of those types will get retired. I actually think there's a good chance that the 737 gets retired, because those are older 737-800s and 900s that were delivered in the late 90s and early 2000s, so most of those are older in age and aircraft, while many of the A321s in particular operated by Asiana are brand new or only a couple years old. Korean Air also has the A220, they just recently started getting those as well, so those will probably stick around as well. And it'll be interesting to see what this new combined fleet looks like and what Korean Air's plans for streamlining the fleet will be. The merger as of now is not yet confirmed, however, the major announcement for the merger has been made, and eventually the two airlines are expected to close the deal in about a year from now, while a lot of business transactions and the other behind the scenes things that are needed to occur for the merger will happen. As it respects to how this will affect the Korean aviation market, it'll basically make a super airline in Korea, and then this new Korean Air brand with the current existing fleet that we merged together. This will make Korean Air the 10th largest airline in the world by number of aircraft owned. What this also means is that you're probably going to see some changes at the airports that you go to or spot at where Korean Air and Asiana fly, as it will be one airline. You'll probably see a reduction in flights just for the one airline instead of the two competing. And as far as competition in Korea, this also means there's less competition. There's basically the one national airline, and then there are a bunch of budget airlines that are trying to compete with them. Hopefully there is a competitor that was able to rise up to compete with Korean Air, because now it'll just be Korean Air and then like everybody else kind of in the distance, not really that significant. So it'll be interesting to see how this merger affects Korean aviation. This is definitely one of the biggest mergers we've had in a very long time. I would argue this is the biggest merger since the US Airways American Airlines merger back in 2013. With all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would really like to know what your thoughts are on the merger. Comment them down below. Thank you for watching, have a great rest of your day, and God bless you.